All right, cousin Tone. We are here with the most feared man in the hobby. Do not get in this man's crosshairs if you know what's good for you. I'm talking about my man, Mr. Ziggy No from the Sports Card Show. Welcome, Ziggy. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, man. I feel scared of myself now.
No, don't be. Just be yourself, brother.
I will be. I will be. Thank you guys very much, man. Appreciate that. I don't know if that's, it's funny. I think that's like a notorious introduction. It wasn't my intent, but I understand. I understand.
Yeah. I don't like I said, we get into this hobby and we start doing things and somehow some way we kind of find our stride, and I think
Yep.
you found your stride, and we're going to get into it exactly
Yep.
what we're talking about here. For those of you who don't know, we're going to get a little bit into your background, so let's jump into it. Now we were doing some research and I came across your YouTube. Of course, that's your main
Yep.
thing. And then, as every channel, they have the about section. Whenever you go on a website, the about this particular person. And your description is as follows. It basically says channel focused on showing and sharing sports cards with hobbyists all over the world. Honest, open, growing, influencing, teaching, learning. So tell our audience how you came up with this idea, why you started it, and what has it become.
Sure. I'll tell you, it's funny when you gave me some notes about that, and I went back and read that summary. I realized I got to update that because it's clearly not what I've been doing now. And I'll also say this too, guys. I am fluid. Like your conversation tonight will direct where I am tomorrow in my content. Right. One thing you'll see, I've just been consistently there, not always consistent on the same message. Okay. So to answer your question, when I wrote that statement, this started back in 2020, and I originally was doing content in Facebook world for years prior to that, probably from like 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, doing Facebook. I had a Facebook group. I was in Facebook groups, and I did a lot of how-to stuff. I admin one group. I used to be many of them. It was like how to ship, how to break, how to do certain things. I've always been big on kind of a watchdog in the sense of like I was in groups that would keep minimums on what you could charge people. For example, in 2018, the Bowman Mega Boxes were a very hot product. You could buy them $15, and they were selling in groups for about $30. Well, we capped those in groups that I was in at 35 or 40. Other groups would let it go as high as you want to, and there'd be arguments about, oh, you're just being, a socialist. And look, in my group where I was admin, we want to keep some control on it, right? That's just the way it was. It's just an example, but that's always been my kind of history there. I've always been in those groups. And I'll even make a comment. Back in those days, too, there used to be this thing of you'd submit a comp when you were going to sell a card or razz a card. You'd submit a comp with it, and you normally would be 10% under the comp because the idea was, here's what it went on eBay. I'm doing this off eBay. I'll take 10% off for the community, and that's how comps were. But somewhere during 2020, it was like we stopped doing comps, right? It's like, I don't even need to send you a comp. I'm just going to sell it for this much, right? So like, and I'll say this too, like I'm in a group right now that I admin that is very much like that. It's a Wild West group. The only rules we have is we require that you coin the item that you're selling, and that you list a price. We try and prevent phishing where you're kind of listing the price and trying to get people to get back or to show possession of the product. We do some vouching and some scanning of who the people are, but even that's gotten hard. So my point to that is I started in that world in Facebook, did a lot of content. A lot of my content originally too was with my sons, where we'd go out, we would chase retail, and we would go in and wipe it out, right? I would buy it all.
You.
That was me. Now, here's what I'm talking about. I was also the original OG flipper because I would buy all the baseball and the basketball because I wanted basketball. But what I would do is I'd come back to my Facebook groups, and we would trade the Bowman to the guy at basketball, right? So it was a community thing. And we'd also trade under those comps, right? eBay's going for $35 a box. Hey, dude, I got Blaster. They'll give me for $25. Let's trade. So that's what I'm saying. Like I call friends, hey man, they've got Bowman here. Do you want Bowman? I don't like Bowman. At that time, I was into basketball. But yes, I was the guy who would flip baseball to feed my basketball, right? My boys and I would rip packs for other people. We'd do it at cost, and we'd have fun breaking stuff. So in 2020, the .com, I'm sorry, that shows you how old I am. The hobby world goes on fire, and my sons started watching a lot of it, right? They're big on like that. What's that dude who does all those Mr. Beast and all that stuff, right? all the YouTube guys,
Mm-hmm.
and they started watching Hobby Box, PSA Collector, a couple other people back in those days, right? And everything to them was, look how much money I can make. And it was very flashy and very wow. And I'm not here calling anybody out, but as soon as I started watching it, my first thought was, what the hell? It's just like, well, come on, right? And I'll even say this: I was watching Jeff and Sports Card Investor before that, and I was a critic to his stuff because he'd come out and say stuff. I'm like, dude, you don't know the hell you're talking about. And and he admitted he was new, but I was always kind of watching. I was a guy who made comments. I like to make comments. I also feel like if I'm commenting, it shows I care. I'm not being an asshole. I'm just asking you a question. People would comment back. So fast forward, 2020, I launched my channel. The intent was I can make content too, but I can make good content. So my first video was a how to use ComC. Then I started on this whole series in June on how to sell. I did Star Stock, I did Investacard, and I did all these how-tos. My other thing that caught attention really was doing these shout outs every day. At the time, it was just simply a breakdown every day. And this was inspired by Jeremy Lee, right? Sports Cards Live. I would watch his show religiously, man. I was a big fan of his show, very involved in the chats, asking questions. And he had Panini guy on there. I think it was July 12th in 2020, because July 13th, I started going daily. And it's because the news that he put out that night, I was thinking, man, this is such good stuff. I'm not going to wait to put it on a weekly show. I'm going to put it every day. So every day I started finding cool stuff and finding other people's channels to point to, and I would do that. Now, one thing that I did in the summer, I pissed off card ladder guys. Okay. And really, this goes back.
Was it Chris Hoge?
Yeah.
House of Jordans, and what's the other gentleman?
Josh Johnson.
Josh. Yep.
And again, if you look back, and again, all this is everything I've done is in my videos, right? So in the summer, I was a friend of these guys. In fact, I was going back to January 2020, got involved in Jeff Wilson's Facebook group. Chris McGill was in there. A lot of other people from the 90s baseball cards. A lot of these guys were in there. Brett. And at the time, they all wanted to post stuff. So I started filtering out what they couldn't post, so I was a moderator in that. But I pissed off Chris because he had somebody try to post a card ladder video in the Market Movers Facebook group that was kind of offensive. It wasn't like a how to work together. And I did a video on how the two products go together. I'm making this too long, but long story short, I pissed off Chris in the summer. And that really hurt me to a lot of content creators. And I'll give you an example. If you use card ladder, they had this feed of content creators that they would profile, and I got kicked out of there. I was in there once or twice, and after that, I was never in there again. And I even asked Chris about it. Why am I not getting put in there? He goes, well, some of us don't like the fact you use Market Movers, right? And then he started making these comments. I'm like, Chris, that's bullshit. And I started asking questions back to him, and I got banned. In August of 2020, I was banned from card ladder. So going into the rest of the year, I just focused on helping other content creators. I kind of laid low. I dropped off in beginning of 2021, took some time away from it, came back doing daily updates. If you look at my content, I'd put out some, what I call evergreen-like content, how-tos, what's going on, my forecasts on the community. Like, I know one of your questions is, and I'll even admit to this, what I do is very easy. I watch other people's shit and I make comments on it, right? It's like that show Talk Soup. Remember that? The guys Talk Soup. It's the same idea. What's challenging is I invest the time in listening, and I do kind of line it up. But I agree, it's me giving comment, but I try to sprinkle in good content as well. Now, let me fast forward. Over the summer, I had this whole thing about what I wanted to have for content, because I really wanted to get away from just being a daily update show. I wanted to do more interviews, because I feel like a lot of the interviews out there are weak. I mean, I really do. I feel like more of them are just like, so I like what you guys are doing tonight. Grill me, man. I like that. Ask questions. Too many of them are just commercials. Yeah. And me as a collector, me as a person in the hobby, I'm like, well, ask him this, ask him that. And I'm not being a jerk. I'm not trying to be a troll, but I'm like, you have an opportunity to clear this up. I'll give you a perfect example. Lucas Tigers and Bronze had Don Diego on their show a few nights ago. Don Diego is known in the Pokemon community, very beautiful woman, very popular, but she got caught shilling in her own card. In a video, she bought her own card. Who cares? I don't care, but she got caught doing it. Mm-hmm. A lot of people got upset about it. They had her on the show. They could have said before the show, look, like you sent me notes. Hey, we're going to bring up this issue. Could you just address it? Could you talk about it? That would have been such a great thing. It would have been so easy to do that. Didn't even do it. You know what I'm saying? It's those frustrating things that bother me. Or else when shows get on there and they say, well, leave your comments in chat below. What do you think? We want you to give me your feedback. I can take it. Blah, blah, blah. And then they block you. I'm like, well, clearly you can't take it. Like it's not like I'm not here trolling you, like saying you're a jerk or your mom's ugly. I'm just simply asking you a question, and
Yeah.
people can't take it. So those things have got kind of, I guess, triggered me to where I am today. Lately, unfortunately, what does well is when you call people out.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, dude, even like I'll tell you this, I don't know if I want to do that anymore.
Really?
I and what I mean by that, I got several videos that I've got lined up on some content creators who've done some stuff that I think shady, but I'm thinking, I don't know. It just feels like, I'll give you an example. I was watching the Sports Card Radio video tonight. You guys are familiar with them and the BBC box thing that happened, right?
Yep.
And they're getting all hyped about it. And, if this doesn't go well, we'll get more of this. I'm thinking to myself, have we gone too far? And I'll give you what I mean by that. Mojo Breaks, Dan from Mojo Breaks said earlier this week, he says, what if, because what we're really mad about with that box is not that they were all in alphabetical order. What we're mad about is those 3 Jordans came back 6s and 7s. Because if they came back 9s and 10s, we wouldn't give a shit about how that box, we'd call it a unicorn. We go, did you guys see Haley's Comet? I saw Haley's Comet because it came in that box. But because it didn't, right, we have now overreacted, and now we rewarded everybody. Everybody got a brand new pack tonight because of this overreaction. I'm thinking to myself, is that what we intended? Is that making the hobby better? You know what I'm saying, dude?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, even my whole battle with She Collects Cards. What bothers me about her is just own the fact that you work for Collectors Universe. And when people criticize you, like she says, well, I didn't know to open the box, then say I did, adjust your video. But when you say you're simply doing it for clout, you go, well, yeah, when I invest money in a video, I feel like I should get so many likes and so many views. That just drives, it's like, oh man, please lie to me. Take that off. And then we watch that and we subscribe to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, man. It makes me, I'll tell you another thing. And I do want you guys to ask me another quick question here. I had a conversation this last week with Dr. Beckett, which I'm really excited about because he asked me to come on his show.
Oh, wow.
And I know him through Hobby Hotline. We'd been together, co-hosts. I was there for a few weeks. And because I got kicked off there, by the way.
There too.
You seem to have a knack for well, anyways, go ahead.
No, go.
I said you seem to have a knack for not sticking around too long. So hopefully you last 10 minutes in this interview before we kick you out.
Well, again, it's not me. And the Hobby Hotline thing it goes back to the Chris thing, right? Basically, Chris Jeremy had a show. Chris was on it. Chris verbally made a threat to me. Okay, on the video, he makes a comment. Goes,
so Chris apparently made a threat to Peter Pac-Man. Now Chris made you're talking about Chris McGill?
Yeah, to me.
And now he made a threat to you.
Yeah, and let me give you some light to this. Here's what bothered me and most of this is on video. A guy named on Sports Card Analytics who doesn't have a channel anymore. He does some stuff with Ryan at Breakout Cards. His name is Jordan, very good young man. Had a channel, used to be a card ladder person. Him and I used to butt heads. We eventually decided to talk one day, and we became friends just from talking. He's like, Ziggy, you're a good guy. We never talked about card ladder. One day he called me up and goes, you're right about everything you said about Chris. Chris did say shit about you. And he told me that Chris did warn him about Ziggy's a crazy person. If you're going to be a card ladder person, beware. And so back up. Jordan actually did a video with Pac-Man, a rap video that was kind of an attack on me. And it really, Peter didn't know about it, but the way that Jordan presented it was kind of an attack on me. In the video, he makes a comment about if somebody shows at the National, 30 of my friends might come out and rough them up or something vague, but the comment of 30 people was in there. 3 days later, that same comment is made by Chris. He says, one day these bullies who think they can come on and make these comments are going to find themselves surrounded by 30 friends at the National. And I was like, oh, great. And in the comments, that's it. I'm not saying anything else. I stopped commenting. I sent a comment to Jeremy. I said, we need to talk. I said, that's the second time that threat's been made to me, and I can't believe you let him make this comment. Meanwhile, Jeremy calls everybody after this whole thing happened except for me. He called Jeff. He apparently called everybody on Hobby Hotline. He told people on the Hobby Hotline it's either him or me, that this is going to get violent, and it's all my fault and all stuff, apparently. Wow. So I left Hobby Hotline. I also left adminning over this whole thing. Okay, but it goes back to like I said, there's bad blood there, man. That in my opinion, I don't know if it'll ever go away. Those guys resent me. They put me where I am, and I don't know. But I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to leave your interview. I'm not going to run from questions. I'm happy to talk about this stuff. I'll even say this. I want a path to resolution because I know I have a lot of mutual friends who are friends with them and me and go, look, Ziggy, I know what happened was wrong. That's bullshit. But I wasn't there. You know, things have changed. And I'm like, I know. I said, so ask Chris. Ask Chris why he continues to make those comments. I mean, Chris is very passive aggressive on every one of his videos towards Jeff. I mean, you can tell that if you listen to Crossover, every week he's making these I don't know. He's got issues too. We all need some therapists.
Well, okay. Well, you said a lot there, and and we're not gonna sit here and pile on. I mean,
please, but ask any questions.
No, I'm talking about. I'm not gonna sit here and pile on people who aren't here. That's not. That's something. You can. You guys. Hopefully, you said. You find common ground and something gets resolved. At some point one day.
And I'll say this, guys. Listen, if they're watching, I do want peace. I really don't. I want things to be better. Like I gave Chris grief on Card Ladder, and I still do, because I think it's hypocritical for him to complain about market movers when he has Card Ladder scores and predictive scoring. Let's just be who we are, dude. I'm going to call out those hypocrisies. Okay. Is that wrong of me? No. At the same time, call me out as well if you want to. It's funny. You made a comment that a lot of people, I'm notorious in the sense that a lot of people in the industry know me and they'll be friendly to me. Like at the National, a lot of people shook my hand, but they're not going to have me on their channel, right? I had a conversation with a mutual friend about this. It's like, look, you're just polarizing. And I don't mean to be an asshole about it, but his audience is a happy-go-lucky audience, and I'm kind of a polarizing, like you said. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I understand that. I have put myself in this niche of where I am. In fact, part of me thinks about creating a whole brand new profile with a brand new person that's happy-go-lucky. They don't even know who the hell he is, right?
Ziggy, yes.
No, it's going to be somebody totally different. It's going to be a female persona. You'll never see my face.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, and that's why, Oz has said since day one, he's like, look, man, this hobby is full of all kinds of people, and we're not going to shy away from talking to anybody, barring, some crazy stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're talking crap, then
nobody's perfect, man. Nobody walks on water. Nobody's Jesus in this hobby. We all make mistakes. So like we say, we just, get it from the horse's mouth.
What bothers me too is I just feel like we're so infighting. Like, why don't we focus our efforts on making it better? And I really mean that. Like, everybody says that. Every one of us will complain. I don't mean you guys, but people will complain. But what are the solutions? Like, I do have recommendations for solutions. I do have things I'd like to see done. And the thing is, I don't have the voice, and I'm hoping that I poke the right person to make those changes. Like I said, going back to Dr. Beckett, then him listening to me justified the fact that he wanted to listen to me. And I even said to him, when he's talking about, he's going to have that come out on his series, the conversation with me, which I'm super excited about. Like I said, I mean, it might make me look bad, but his comment was he understood. He understands my frustration, the passion. He goes, and there are a lot of collectors out there. And I also say this too. I do get a lot of DMs from people who I think are frustrated, who share stuff with me that they know that I will expose that they won't. Like the She Collects Cards thing. When I mentioned what she did with the whole oven box, there are a lot of people who sent me text messages about other things she's been doing in the hobby for a long time. Another example was she had this white paper she was quoting all the time. And when you read the white paper, it was she just misquoted it. You know what I'm saying? It's those type of things. Like, but people aren't going to read it. Yeah. Right. Anyway, next question. I'm sorry.
No worries. So that was a hell of an explanation. But so what do you say? And this actually, and I mean, we're going to be up front. This is an opinion that I had. And I told Oz all the time, what do you say to the people that say that your content is lazy, that all you do is just watch and just talk? Like that's okay. People put in their hard time and work and stuff like that to put out videos, and then you just play it and you just talk crap on it. Whoa, big deal. I mean, what do you say to that?
Yeah. So first of all, let me say this. I try, and I think it's funny. I try to be just as much positive.
Oh yeah. Well, I was about to say, there is another aspect to that too. But if you could just answer the first part first.
Yeah, and the answer to that is that, again, if you look at my videos 2 years ago, I wasn't negative at all, and no one freaking watching my videos, like 30, 40 views. Mm-hmm. It isn't until I then have a zinger in the damn video that I have to plan at the end that people will watch the first 5 minutes of the people I'm trying to get shout outs to, right? So it's funny. So to answer your question, is it lazy? Absolutely, dude. I am one of the most lazy content creators because here's another thing. I'm using the same damn laptop, the same speakers. I won't invest any money in this thing at all. I'm so stubborn about it. Part of that is because it still is my hobby. I'm really not. I'm not investing in it. I don't have anybody I have to. I have no schedule. No one I have to like. Nobody I have to do this for. Like for example, guys, this commitment to you was the only thing I had to do today in my world when it came to this hobby. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoy that freedom. So yes, very lazy. I don't edit at all. I just talk about people. What I would say is I do have on a whiteboard a whole bunch of freaking great content that I would like to do. Okay. In fact, I've got a whole comedy idea that I think we could do. Okay. I don't have the time, money, energy, or effort at this point in my life to do that. If I do that, might have to shift. You might see a big change. I guess my point. And I'll also say this too. Like I said earlier, I'm very aware the negativity resonates, and I don't know. It's. I think it hurts the creator as well, right?
So does that speak to you, or does that speak to the people in the hobby? Obviously, they like the drama. I mean, like,
well, it speaks to both of us. I mean, as a
yeah.
human being, dude, I can't explain to you. Like, we post a video, you do go look at your feedback. Like I used to like when you get the dislikes and the likes. All you get are your likes now. I miss my dislikes because I kind of like to see who people I'm pissing off. I also would see decline in subscribers too when I'll say things, and sometimes I just want to provoke an opinion. Other times I look back, I'll watch it later on. Here's the kicker, dude. I'll watch it later on, and I'll be like, would I be embarrassed if my sons watch it? And I have been. In fact, to confess a little more, dude, this weekend ago, it was my boys, and my son said to me, "Dad, you're always angry." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he starts listing stuff, and he goes to one of my YouTube videos. And I'm like, "Oh no!" I'm like, "Can you watch this?" He goes, "Yeah, we watch it all the time." Dad, I'm like, "I don't know now."
No,
No, I
you don't
will
want to be
say
that guy.
Yeah, and I mean, I will say that you do some positive content as well, because you'll do videos where you'll find people who are putting out content, and they might have 5 subscribers, and you're like, hey, let's get these guys some love.
Yeah,
He's doing this, that, and the other thing. I mean, you just had on a good friend of ours, Samuel Evans. You highlighted him, the sports card collector, and Sam does awesome content, and he's one of the realest people out there. So you do that as well. It's not like you just only turn on and you're just bashing people. So I mean, kudos to you on that, because at least you're doing that.
Yeah, it's like it's back in the spring. I actually tried, and again, I go through these times in the spring. I tried to bring on small content creators. Like I had Reckless on, I had on Cards and Comics, and my focus was again to bring that on. In fact, maybe that's what I might do now. I might take a little bit of break away from some of the drama. In fact, there's enough people dealing with it, and maybe just focus on bringing some of these smaller channels with under a couple hundred subscribers on, and just giving them a spotlight. Like I do have, I broke the 2,000. I'm happy about that, and I would rather help the community than anything else. Like it's funny, it's a really good idea, man. I think that might be a better way to go.
I don't know. I mean, you have your Lamine James, you have your card porn, you have these, the watchdogs out there, and you see the amount of people that subscribe to them, follow them, and I mean their content, is hilarious at times, and I think it's just like you said, part of human nature. You want to see that car crash. It's so hard to look away. And then there's people out here that are just doing shit every day that boggles the mind in this hobby. Like, what are these people thinking? And you're here and you're calling them out. So there's people that sit back in the weeds and just, enjoy it. And you're the guy. You're the man that's calling it out. So you're gonna get heat for it.
Well, I also want people just to kind of revisit things. Like, I mean, again, I put the video today about Run Good Life, right? And I hope people understood this. I'm not trying to attack Run Good Life, but I want people to look again. I go back to Mojo Breaks. Dan made a great point. Had he opened up those packs and they were all autographs, he'd be yelling he's the hottest breaker in town. But because he opened them up and they were bad, he just flamed Steel City. Now, I've gotten some comments back on that. Well, they still weighed the packs, blah, blah, blah. If you watch the video, here's what the problem is. He opened, I think it was 20 packs off camera. So he's mad, okay? They were bad packs. He has 20 more. He's going to open those on camera. And he even says during this video, I'm not going to say the name of this vendor. By the end of the break, because he's angry, he says the name of the vendor. And he now changed the name, says Steel City in it. So in my mind, when I watched that, I realized, look, he didn't go to Steel City and say, dude, I have another 20 of these. He didn't give the vendor an opportunity to resolve the problem. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He just attacked them. And that is not probably, it is wrong. And we as a community, like I was part of, like, go run good life. Like I was thinking the same thing. And I saw Sports Card Radio, gave a shout out to him. Now I'm looking back thinking to myself, yeah, that was probably wrong. Like they probably easily could have been miscollated. There's a ton of reasons. You didn't give the vendor an opportunity to respond. And now I'm thinking, damn, that was wrong. So it's things like that I want people to come back to. Like another good example, Go GTS Live got flamed for losing their license for Fanatics, right? Bench Clear came out and put that notice out that, Go GTS Live is not doing any Fanatics after 2023. Well, that was only for hobby. It's not for retail. It's not for international. And there is a huge difference there. And I think I was one of the only people who brought that up and echoed it so people would at least echo it. I heard Neo talk about it. But those are things where we're quick to break the story, but we don't want to come back and clear up the facts about it, right? To revisit it. I wish more channels would do that. But again, they're all, not all of us, but most of us are doing for the clickbait, right? We really are.
Yeah.
They don't want to read the real story. Like, for example, Target, if you go back, and I'll try to find this video because someone asked me to look in this. I remember last year, Target, Minnesota, where the gun story was, turned out that there were never any charges pressed because it was a misunderstanding. Now think about that. Why did the police not press charges if a gun was there and everything? So that was taken, again, out of context. There were issues. There were incidents. I'm not going to say there weren't.
Yeah.
But again, no one ever came back to clarify that story.
Right.
And we do that a lot of times in this community. We run with the first thing. The other example is Fanatics. Remember, the Fanatics can be exclusive with celebrity breaks. Well, that still has not come to fruition. I don't think I think that was just Celebrity Breaks making a false claim that they had an exclusive with Fanatics so that people would know who they are. Right. And everybody ran with it. Everybody's talking about it. And then no one followed up. And the Twitter thing went away and no one's talking about it anymore.
And clickbait's going to be clickbait, and they do that in sports and do that for the news. It's just that's just common when it comes to. And like you said, it takes balls to go back and say, hey, you know what? That's not really what happened. This is the truth. But you get those likes and you keep it moving. Yeah. So let's keep it real, Ziggy. Tony and I, we try to stay positive when it comes to the Cousins Collectibles podcast. We try not to get wrapped up in the drama. Every now and then we'll bring up some issues. There's always going to be bad seeds when it comes to the hobby. That's, life. That's just what happens. We as human beings, we always, tend to screw it up at times.
Hold on, quick. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Are we more forgiving in the hobby than other areas, though?
Yeah. And that's something that I want to address, about that too, because
like if you worked if you had let's say a big office and you had the same actors working with you that were doing shady shit, like hiding your lunch from you, right?
Yeah.
Or faking your lunch, putting what I'm saying, doing shady shit to you at work.
Yeah.
Would you want to be around them?
No, but the hobby, you seem to be rewarded for that shit.
Exactly.
So it's the hypocrisy of the hobby. We create this this nice little escape from reality, and it's almost like there's no rules.
Yeah, it's like Lord of the Flies, dude.
Yeah, pretty much, and nice guys finish last, unfortunately. And sometimes being the positive guy, we sit back, Tony and I, we're like, well, maybe we should, talk about this, talk about that. And, you just have these internal questions whether or not you want to go to the dark side, because there's plenty of things that you could just be, like you said, you could do what you're doing, just calling all the bullshit that's out there. But we want this to be a good place. We want people to come in, the new people, and be excited about the hobby and to stay and not think about it as, just a bunch of adults acting like kids out here, we're in high school.
Yeah. It's fun. It's fun. I don't know why, but it is.
It is fun, but it's crazy because when the first time that I heard about you, you kind of called us out, so you kind of put the Cousins on blast for our interview with the great curator. We had the interview, we stepped out. It was a thing with Tony and I. We were like, man, great curator. He got a lot of dope content out there, but he's kind of a lightning rod. There's people that love him, people that hate him. We should have him on. And Tony's like, I don't know, man. That's not like what we do. I was like, no, screw it. Let's get him on. And then we'll let him tell his side of the story.
Yeah.
So we had the interview. I thought it was great. It was good. And here comes Ziggy. No. Yo, you guys are good, but you didn't ask them the right questions. Like, what are
Yep.
you
So
talking about? We asked them all the nah. If that was me, I would have done this. I'm like, who the hell is this fucking guy? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I was
screw
like,
this
yo, then
guy.
do it then, bro.
so here's and let me apologize. So first of all, let me say this. I love the fact you're bringing this up. See, this is what I love about this freaking show, man. Everybody else just be a coward, not say it. Because you were thinking that you're like, what an asshole, Ziggy. Here's the thing. Here's what I was really thinking. I was thinking that little coward curator hides from everybody else and goes on your channel because everybody wanted to talk to him, right? He got a little spiff with AIH and he was involved in, I'll be honest, I don't really know all the details, but let me give you some names that were involved. You have Sports Card, you have Sports Card Anonymous, you had Flipping Steve, you had Merle World, you have The Great Curator, you have AIH, all these names mingled up in this thing, all these channels that he could go on to, and he goes on yours. And again, it wasn't, and I apologize because you're right. It was like being you guys didn't ask the right questions, and you guys are well researched, as I can see. Okay, I just felt like he makes these comments about gentleman collector. I want to do what's best for the hobby. I'm open, but then he blocks people. And again, I don't think you were aware of that. You didn't understand the other parts of the story, so it's unfair of me to make those comments the way I did. So I apologize for that. But again, I guess in my defense, my point was I was trying to highlight your channel and how I was like, hey, I found this cool channel, new channel, and here's Dan hiding on the channel. Then let me give you a follow-up. I will say I did follow up with Dan. I met him at the National, right? There were several people I went and I did go to look to meet and shake hands with. And I saw him, and I think it was good. I'll be honest. He was at the booth. He's there with the dude from Sunday Card Investors. I forget his first name. Said hi to him. I saw Merle. And he said to me, hi, Ziggy, I know who you are. I blocked you because you made some negative comments. I said, look, that's who I am. I say negative shit. I'm not going to not be negative. I said, I'd appreciate you didn't block me because I'll take it down. Don't worry. I even sent him and Merle an Instagram, and I made a video on how to unblock Ziggy because a lot of people block me, right? So to answer, I think things are good with Dan and I. I still think I'm blocked on his channel because I don't think he's gotten around to it. It is a lot harder to unblock than it is to block somebody.
Yeah.
I have a communication with Merle. He'll chat back and forth with me on Instagram. And again, what I'll say this too is I'd like to talk to Dan more, especially with Star Wars. I don't blame him for what he did. And he didn't do anything wrong, right? I look at it from two sides. In fact, this is what I said to him. He goes, I saw your video you did on us pumping and dumping. I said, I made 2 videos on you. I said, from an investor side, what you guys did was amazing. You got a card for some cheap price from some guy who was going to send, was keeping his PC. You sold it for $5,000, then for $16,000. Now you're going to sell it for more. That's amazing. I said, but as a collector in me, it makes me laugh that you started by you told the guy, or Merle told the guy, man, that's my PC card. I'd love to have that card. And the guy goes, oh, you want it for your PC? And he sold it to him for probably a very fair price because he assumed he was a collector of it. And what's Merle do? Like a week later, he sells it to his friend for $5,000. And that to me, I was like, as a collector, dude, I'll tell you example. If I sell you a card under comp and you tell me it's from my collection, I'm giving it to my son, and then a week later it's on eBay, I'm going to be a little irritated by that. Yeah. You can do that. You have every fucking right to do that, dude. It's the United States of America. Do whatever you want to. But I also have the right to be like, man, that guy lied to me. I thought it was for his PC. Now, at the same time, maybe it was for your PC and you lost your job and now you need to sell it. I don't know. But that's what I thought was funny about that whole video. It depends on which way you look at it, right? Were they pumping or were they just making money? I don't know. I don't care. Star Wars seems very popular right now, though. I do.
Yeah. And I think the thing with the great curator and and everybody that he associates with, he basically just came out. He gives you the game plan. He tells you ahead of time, this is what I'm gonna do. This, whether it's the Star Wars or the wrestling or the PMGs, listen, I'm gonna get it. I have an audience. I'm gonna show it to you, and we're gonna create these markets because I believe in these cards. And it's up to the consumer, whether it be myself or you. When we, look at that content and we say, damn, that PMG, those Marvel PMGs, they're pretty cool. You know what I mean? Then you got to do your research. You can't just go say, well, Dan, the great curator says it's good, so it's got to be good, and that's lazy, as a collector. And I think a lot of people that came in these last 2 years, that, they're just going by what these influencers are saying instead of doing their own homework. But with the great curator, with Dan, like I said, he was upfront and honest about it. Like, yeah, technically it's a pump and dump. These were cards that weren't worth shit. And now, they went to the moon. Now they've dropped back down, of course. Levine James will tell you about all the cars that have gone, down, plummeted 20, 30, 40, $50,000. But at the end of the day, he said, yeah, this is what I'm doing. And I like it.
It's funny. A friend of mine said to me, he goes, what it is, though, is people, let's say, they buy logically and they justify emotionally. And it's not that the influencers make them buy it, it's they help them justify doing it or continuing, right? So, for example, I might be into Marvel and then, Neo's into Marvel? Dude, Marvel's the shit, dude. Neo's into Marvel. I'm into Marvel. You into Marvel? It's like logically, I like Marvel. I like the Spider-Man person, but that emotional piece of the influencer kind of pulls you in. Yeah. And you're like, well, he's into it too. And then as soon as he's not into it, well, it's his fault. It's his fault, Yeah. So again, I will say, I try to stay away from that. I've seen both sides of that. I don't like the buyer beware mentality. I do think there should be some awareness, but I am aware that happens a lot. Like there's no industry where knowledge is so important, man. What you know is very important in sports cards. Whether it's product or a print run or, whatever it might be, that I can see people taking advantage of it.
Yeah, I was about to say that I mean, like you say with buyer beware but that definitely screams two things. Buy what you like and do your research. Because, if you're going to blindly turn on YouTube and just follow what Ziggy says today about whoever, player X, it's not going to turn out well. Yeah. So, that's just screams, just like.
It made me think a good. I did a couple of these before were good research channels. I think I did like top 5 research channels. A couple that I just found recently was like there's a one called Sports Card Show Maps or something like that. What's it called? Yeah, Card Show Maps. And then the other one, the rookie. Have you seen the rookie site that Victor did? The rookie card specialist.
No,
I know what you're talking about. I haven't seen the site.
And then another one is the altered card database. Have you seen that? So these are just, I'm thinking to myself, a couple of websites that just are really great websites that would be great learning things put together in a YouTube channel or as a video, because there's a lot of new stuff that's come out recently. Yeah. People just aren't aware. Because when you say go do your research, it's funny if I was to do my research, I would start with Cardboard Connection, right? And start there by reading about the product and finding out. And then I'd probably jump over to Blowout forums and do some research there. And then the last place I'd want to go to is YouTube. I'd go to YouTube to open the product, to see it ripped.
Right.
I like doing that because then you can see how many hits there are in it, what type of stuff is in it. But
you know what YouTube is, and you're a fantasy football guy. YouTube is the cheat sheet that you take on draft day, where it's just real quick, bang, bang, bang. Here it is. Yeah. If you play in fantasy football and you pick up a paper and it goes 1 through 50, yeah, these guys are in an order, but what's the difference between number 48 and 47? You might say, well, there might be a real big difference. So, this YouTube is kind of like a real quick. And before you know, you're like, oh, crap, I probably should have done a little bit more reading than just picking up this paper with.
That's a good analogy. I like that. It's like watching the play, right? So, reading the playbook, you're just watching the play itself. It's a visual aid more than it is, the deeper aids.
Yes, sir. So, now you recently had a conversation with a good friend of ours, Mr. Peter Pac-Man.
Yep.
Great interview, by the way. Tell us how you hooked up with him, and let's get into. Tell us how you hooked up with him, and then let's get into one of the bigger topics that you talked about in the hobby, and that's race in the hobby.
Sure. So let me say, I love talking to people. So if I see somebody's content, I will often leave comments. I'm not typically start off as an asshole, okay? Mm-hmm. And I'll also send them Instagram messages. So I want to say I found Peter a couple years ago through Sports Card Analytics, who's Jordan, who does music too. Like the two of them did a collaboration a couple years ago, right? Mm-hmm. That's how I found him. And I loved his hip hop music. This is freaking awesome. He brought this over. I saw his videos. So I've been a fan. I remember, over a year ago, I remember sending him a message. Hey man, like your stuff. Would you like to talk sometimes? Like, not. I don't. He didn't say no, but he said no, not right now, type of thing. Mm-hmm. And then I'd stay on his radar. I'd say, hey, great, love that. I like his stuff. So eventually, I think I sent him a message. Hey, would you like to come on? He goes, yeah, I'd like to. And he did tell me. He goes, Ziggy, I appreciate the fact that you didn't come hard and say, hey, can you be my show and bug me? And you were consistent. You kind of felt me out. And he goes, it gave him time to feel me out. And I'll be honest, I didn't realize how lucky I was because he's not doing that for everybody. Mm-hmm. As far as talking to everybody. So that's how I got to meet him. What was your second part of the question?
So the second part of the question is, where there's there's
Yeah,
been
racism.
instances of
Yes.
racism and
Yeah.
discrimination in the hobby. So just, give me your perspective on this taboo subject. Some people disagree wholeheartedly and say the hobby includes everyone, and the only color they're worried about is green. But then there's also people that say, you know,
Okay.
the
So like,
opposite. So, where do you stand on that?
so for your audience who's podcast, right? I don't want to shock them, but I'm a white man, very white man. My background is actually my father is Puerto Rican, Portuguese.
Oh wow.
My stepfather is a black man. My sister is half black. I've got a very diverse background. That's what I'll tell you. But I
Okay.
am a white man. Okay,
So
very
we share some Puerto Rican descent, so
yeah.
we
So
might be related.
we might
Maybe there's
be.
some Ziggies in the island we gotta find.
Seguino is a apparently Puerto Rican Basque name. Seguino, Seguinot.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
apparently there's a biker group, Puerto Rican biker group that's Seguinos or something. It's Chino, some weird. Okay, so going back to answer your question, dude. Yeah, the hobby's racist. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'll give you an example. If any of those breakers were black that had any problems, there wouldn't even be a follow-up video. I'm sorry to say that. Vintage breaks. The dude takes the pack off camera. If that was any minority group, except for a woman, they would not be in breaking anymore. And I mean that, and I'm probably going to say shit I probably shouldn't say right now, but women, it's okay. Like, I think it's interesting we have this women for the hobby thing, and I'm all supportive of that. I think that's great. Here's my opinion on women in the hobby, and I don't mean to be mean. Most women in the hobby either love the hobby or they're there because their significant other is making money in it, and they're supporting that. Okay? Women are very smart. They're either into it because they really, truly love it, or they're supporting a man who's making money in it. But there's plenty of women in the hobby. There's nobody holding women out of the hobby. Okay, that does not happen. Look at Titan Cards. You guys follow Titan Cards? It has tons of followers because it's a woman breaking cards. Really nice woman, but it's no surprise. I mean, I don't even mean there's some great memes about it. When it comes to minorities of color, it's a very racist business. First of all, it's an affluent business, right? Most of the people that have money or have access to money. It's also interesting in the sense that it does cut across so many different, like working class people can be in the hobby. Like I know cooks and waiters and waitresses and truck drivers, but I also know lawyers and doctors and dentists, right?
Mhm.
So, but it is, I don't know. And I don't mean racist like they're keeping you out, but it is a trust built community and also distrust based community, right? And I think in the good old boy networks, there's more forgiveness. I think a lot of that goes back to the way cards are distributed. And in my opinion, like as a guy who's been in the hobby only a short period of time, like 8 years or whatever, it seems to me that a lot of these guys have been hired at the same place. So the Tops guys used to work at Upper Deck, used to work at Fleer. They've all worked together. And that kind of bothers me. Like the whole acquisition, I wish Fanatics fired everybody at Tops. I wish they fired everybody at Panini. And I don't mean to be mean to them, but if you were doing something good, you wouldn't have lost your jobs, right? You wouldn't have lost your licensing. So bringing the same good old people over, we're not going to see innovation in that market, right? Why not really go out and hire minorities? Like how many minorities work at Tops or at Fanatics, right? I mean, think about that. Zero cool. You want to break out to the African American community who is really your influencer in sneakers and in sports cards, right? Most of your athletes are the ones promoting it. Then hire black people to do that. But I don't like seeing that happen. Like, I don't know. I don't know enough about it, but I would say, yeah, I think the hobby has some racist issues. I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what your opinions are, but yeah.
Well, it exists. We can't just sweep it under the rug like, okay, it's 2022 and everything's beautiful now. It's there. We've seen it in the past couple of years, especially in politics and everything and all the things that went down. So it's there, whether it's the hobby, whether it's real life. Is it as blatant as it used to be? No, obviously, but I could sit here and tell you stories for days about shit that's happened to me, to members of my family, and and that's just real life. But in the hobby, Tony and I, we've come into this, and it's something that we do because we love,
Yeah.
and we could care less if we have 100 followers or 10,000 followers. That's not what we're in it for. We're just here to talk about the cards, talk about memorabilia, and just have fun. But I can't sit here and say, there's people hating on us because we're Puerto Rican. I don't know that. I can't tell you what you're thinking in your mind frame. But as far as it being blatant towards us, like right here, right now, I think we've been welcomed with open arms. But I'm sure there's, plenty of things out there that have happened.
I'll tell you examples. Like I said, when it comes to trust, if you were a breaker, you do something shady, I think if you are a minority, you're not going to get, in my opinion, I don't think you'd get the same forgiveness that you would get. And I could be wrong. But let me give you an example where I think we could see massive change. I am curious to see how Fanatics is going to wield their power. And I'll look at the marijuana industry, okay? In the marijuana industry, depending on what state it is, there's a lot of arguments on getting those licenses into the communities that have been hurt the most about. I live outside DC, right? So get them into the minority communities, minority ownership. If I'm Fanatics, you could easily get allocation to minorities when it comes to products, right? So for example, let's make sure when Topps does, figure how many cases are going where, let's send some to local card stores in inner cities or working with minority communities at Boys and Girls Clubs. And not just to give them crappy cards, guys, not to give them the bad cards, to give them all cards and also give them a path to business entrepreneurialism. And what I mean by this, think about this. If you were to go to the Boys and Girls Club in a poor community and they had breaks there with cards and they have a little locker and a vault where they can leave their cards and leave their sets and they can list their cards and they can submit their cards for grading and everything's for them. And then you go home to their mom and dad and go, Mom and Dad, I made $20 at the Boys and Girls Club today because I sold some cards. And I'm only giving you that example because I started cards at the Boys and Girls Club in 1986. Dad and Braden and my mom would drop me and my brother off. And we'd trade cards. So I don't know if that's possible, but the idea there, Fanatics has the power on those allocations. When they think about who they're going to get them, I don't want to see them going to the same people. I don't want to see them going to Blowout, to David Adams, to Steel City. I think they should shake all that up. Those companies, and I'll even go to the other ones. I don't know enough about Go GTS and Peachtree, but shake it all up. All that distribution to me has been too many backdoor deals. Let's start all over.
Yeah.
Right. Somebody should come together with a business plan that says, look, I want to take 25% of Fanatics allocations to the minority communities. And here's the business plan. It's not just to get them cards and drop them off. It's to help them to a path to using cards, understanding cards. Think about this other two. You have the players involved in this. How many players are players of color? So if I have a program like this, I'm going to have players come to these communities and do autograph signings. So now in my community, you can come open cards with me. I'm going to have a player come in, do autographs. We're going to take those cards. We're going to send them off to the grading company, young man. You're going to get a picture of your experience with the player. We're going to send your card up. It comes back in the mail a few weeks later. You get it graded. You can take it home. You can sell it, but show them the hobby. Yeah. Don't just tell me you're using the kids as, the kids need access to cards. No, let's really teach them how to use cards. And this is a perfect example, right? Where I think we could do that. Again, unfortunately, it all comes back to Fanatics. They're going to have
now let's build on that. Like obviously you're very opinionated, obviously.
A little.
Let's make you Michael Rubin. You're Michael Rubin now. You have, the sport world at your fingertips. It's coming. What are you going to do with this to make Fanatics a success and to make the hobby and take it to the next level? What would you do?
Yeah, I mean, so to me, I'm getting the players as involved as I can. I'm also, again, a few things I do. I don't know why, and I don't mean to be mean to Josh Lieber. I don't understand that hire at all. I guess it's because, he did something at StockX. But I would start by finding creative people in the community, in the sports car community, and in the retired player community, right? From the retired player community, and bring them together. And the reason I say those two communities, because one has the vested interest of the players and the other understands the community. Like, for example, we all complain about prisms. Here's a good example I'd like to see. Talk about prism refractors and parallels. It irks me that the only difference between a gold, a black card, gold card, and a silver card is it's the same picture. It's just that the parallel changes. How about this? How about if you have three images of the player? One is of him dunking the freaking ball. One is of him jumping up with the ball. And the other is him having the ball past him. The passing one is all base cards, right? The one of him jumping up on the ball is him with Mojo's 25, right? And him dunking is gold, right? I want more creativity. And this is something I think you get from bringing in players, collectors, and change that. So I would start there. The infrastructure piece, let's be honest, guys. They're putting pictures on plastic. Okay, so don't tell me about, we got to bring the guy who's been at Topps because he's been 40 years. I don't think you need him. I don't. Again, you could hire a lot of creative people, take these licenses that you have and do some phenomenally cool things with the player community. You can start with the distribution channel there. You have a printing cards. That's great. But creativity wise, again, I think they could do more with player signings, with player autograph sessions. I'm a big fan of NFTs, and I don't want to say this in the wrong way, but I think you will see a blending of, you'll open a box and you could have the chance in a box of going to an event and meeting a player and getting an autograph and not just your cards. And there's a lot of crossover opportunity there, right? I also think with the jerseys, the hats, he's going to expand all that. So I would expand that as well. If I'm Michael Rubin. Another thing I do too is I put limits on certain things, right? I come out for collectors and I say, these are collectors only. These are the print runs these things will be printed to, and that will all be transparent. You will see what those print runs are. And I'd even start disclosing some of the print runs of the previous products that I bought in Topps. I would even do that. I'd be like, yeah, you know what happened in 1995? You believe they printed 50 million of these things? I would disclose that because you would build trust in the community. Yeah. You did that, right? Because they'd come in as, look, I understand collectors. I understand you're upset. Well, first I'm going to show you what happened behind the kimono. And now moving forward, here's my plan. I'm going to make money. I have all these crossover ideas, and I will have player exclusive, where I'll have like the flawlesses and the NTs, and I'm going to keep these limited. For the next 5 years, we're only going to make 55K, whatever it is. That's an easy thing to do. And he would dominate this space. I mean, really would. I'd also try to do as much as I can more towards, again, to me, consumer and people who are going to touch the consumer, right? So if you're a local card store who's bringing boxes in and you're working with the community to help give jobs, to teach them how to use cards, to how to create art or whatever it might be, you're going to get help. If you're just a guy sitting in allocations, no, I'm not doing that, right? So I guess I like breaking, but I'd probably be leaning towards regulating breaking. So if I'm Fanatics, I'd probably say, look, if you're a Fanatics breaker, we're going to have a guy who's going to inspect you, who's going to come out and audit you, who's going to watch videos on you. I'm going to take player feedback. Now, listen, I'm not going to automatically suspend you because some guy's a bad break, but we're going to take action on it. And I'll tell you, I'm stealing that idea actually from Brian Leaf over at Leaf Cards, who says he watches the breaks of Leaf products, and if he sees bad products or bad responses, he'll go take care of the customers. I think that's awesome. I think there's no reason why Fanatics couldn't say, okay, I have 50 Fanatics breakers, and these 50 Fanatics breakers, if you're buying from one of my Fanatics breakers, certified Fanatics breakers, you can rest assured that those guys are being monitored, audited. We go and we visit their shipping facility, and that would give a lot of confidence to me as a consumer and as a father, right? That my son is not breaking with Billy down in the kitchen down the road, right? So I think that's a big area he needs to focus on, because breaking is important to the hobby, but if we're not careful, that could run us amok and could get us in some trouble.
Yes, sir. Wow, some good points there, man. Maybe they're listening. Just put that application in, brother.
I just got to change the name. They can't, as long as it doesn't come from Ziggy.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, and as we start wrapping it up, Ziggy, let everybody know where they can find your content.
Sure. Thank you. Easiest way to find me is on YouTube. Now you can search Ziggy No, Ziggyno, and I'll bring you to my channel. Right now, my channel name is Sports Card Show. That is not filtered in the algorithm. I just changed that a few months ago. So Ziggy No still works. Sports Card Show, and Ziggy No will come up on Instagram. I think Ziggy No works everywhere, but I'm on Twitter. I do have what's it called, TikTok, but I haven't been playing with that enough. I'm thinking about doing something different. And I'll tell you guys, I am thinking about coming out with a comedy series.
Okay.
Right. Like I'm thinking, like, wouldn't it be fun? I might need some help, right? Like we could reenact like the creative room at Panini when they go, hey, this year, guys, we need to increase revenue. It's like, I got an idea. What? Snakeskins, you know?
Right. Yeah. Geez, yeah.
Right. You can make so many parodies of their creativity. Yeah, Billy, great job. You know?
Crazy. Hey, and before I kick it to Oz to finish it off, I will say, like I said, you found us, and we just like, you know what? I'm not gonna sit here and exchange DMs or block or whatever. I was like, yo, let's talk to this dude. Oz is like, yo, let's talk to him, feel him out, and we might have a conversation. And at the end of the day, we might walk away. We might not like each other. It's fine. But the fact that, we can let's sit and talk. Like, I think a lot of times all this stuff that we talked about, if people maybe open up the lines of communication and stuff like, and that's just across the board, man, like a lot of positive things could probably come out of it. So, yeah, this kudos to you. I said, let's talk to this dude, and and we'll see where it goes. But
thank you, man. It means a lot. It means a lot to me, guys, because like you said, you're right. I'll tell you, this conversation that helps me a lot. I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow for content, but you guys help direct me a lot. I mean that because you kind of verify that I'm not crazy, but you rein me in the sense of, hey, there's a different approach. So that I appreciate that, guys. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say I agree with everything you say
Yeah,
because it's
yeah,
just, I don't. I'll be
yep,
honest, I don't. Some
yep,
stuff I'm like, yo, what the hell is he talking about?
yep.
But we
And please,
still,
man,
you
know
know,
that you have that communication with me. That call crazy on me, or if you see something I didn't see, you just know you have communication with me. That line is open, and people watching this too. I try to stay up with. I get a lot of weird messages. I try to keep in touch with those people do, but communication is key, man. I really mean that. I can't thank you guys for the communication, and thank you for having me on tonight, man. I really mean that.
No, we appreciate it, Ziggy. And you got to understand, we get a ton of people that hit us up in the DMs, and it's like 50-50. 50% is all positive, and then there's 50% that, they're just like you and they appreciate what we do, but they're calling everybody else out. And they're like, yo, why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? Why didn't you ask that? And it's something that's needed in the hobby, and it basically comes back to the communication. So by you doing what you're doing, you're really opening up those pathways, and the content creators that are out there that are getting offended and that are blocking and this, that, and the third. Sometimes maybe you just got to look at yourself. Are you on the up and up? Are you doing what's best for the hobby? Are you doing what's best for you? And again, I'm not here to call anybody out.
Yeah.
I'm not perfect. You're not perfect, but neither are these other guys that think they can do whatever the hell they want and continue to be successful in this hobby. So just take a look in the mirror. If you feel like you effed up, just own it. Own it. And I guarantee you're successful now, but if you keep it real and own your shit, to the moon, baby, like they always say. And that's what it all boils down to. So we appreciate your opinions, and people are going to hear this. There's going to be people that are out there just shaking their heads violently, like, man, this dude's crazy. And there's going to be people that agree with it, but just keep doing what you're doing.
Well,
And
thank you, man.
Thank you. My cousin Los always says, very famous quote is, if what we say rubs you the wrong way, it's probably because it's true.
That's right, God. You got to listen to it. Sometimes you got that what's that unfamiliar, uneasy feeling.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good.
There
you know
you
what
go.
I'm saying? You got to.
And with that being said,
thank you, guys.
No, thank you, brother. And with that being said, as always, keep focused, keep positive, and keep collecting. Hey, yo, Tone, bring the beat back.